Hello everybody, so today we're going to be doing a mini cases video. The three people we're talking about today is Ben Peeples, Anwar Green, and Rahim Martin. So if you're new here and you don't know what my mini cases are, we're going to talk about people who don't have a whole lot of information about them, not enough to make a lone video. Typically there's not very many photos, there's not very much information. Sometimes we don't even have a phone number for tips or anything like that. But I like these videos because it gives me the ability to talk about more than one person at a time, to put more faces out there that probably aren't talked about a whole lot, and talk about people who have probably been forgotten or otherwise just overlooked. And that's why I prefer these. I don't say I prefer these cases. I have more of a good time. That still sounds weird. I just like doing these videos because I like being able to talk about more than one person at once. Even if we don't have a whole lot of information, sometimes we don't even know who we're talking about all that well. Sometimes all we know is what the family says about them, but they are someone's loved one and they deserve to be talked about. So two of these people, Anwar and Rahim, are connected. So we're going to start off with Ben first. So Ben, born on September 16th, 1961, who would now be 62, was 45 at the time of his disappearance. He was last seen at 6 a.m. on September 26th, 2006, at his home in the 8400 block of Colgate in Oak Park, Michigan. He was never seen or heard from again. I do have a description of him. So Ben's description is that he had black hair, brown eyes, he wears eyeglasses with gold wire frames, and missing nose tabs. His nickname is Benny. He is balding and has a small skin tag on his hip and a dark skin discoloration on the sides and bridge of his nose. He is 5'6", 215 pounds, and he was last seen wearing a large black Timex watch with a green face and possibly a short black leather jacket and white sneakers. I will have the only photo of him I could find on the screen, and if anybody has any information about Ben or his whereabouts or could possibly help out, the phone number I have for you is Oak Park PD 248-691-7447. Again, that phone number is 248-691-7447. I will have Ben's photo on the screen right now. Moving on, so the two people that are connected in this case is Anwar Green and Rahim Martin, and we're going to start off with Anwar. So Anwar, born November 18th, 1981, who would now be 42, was 19 when he went missing from Newark, I believe is how it's pronounced, or Newark, New Jersey, on January 19th, 2001. So Anwar and his friend Rahim, they planned to cash a check from a civil lawsuit in Newark, New Jersey, on January 19th of 2001. The last time they were seen was on surveillance camera at Independence Community Bank at Broad and Academy Streets. Anwar appeared to be nervous and kept glancing towards the door. Rahim cashed the check, which was for over $8,000. He had also been issued a second check for $4,000, but it was never cashed. The two left the bank and went next door to the Prudential Building on Broad Street, where Rahim had worked as a guard for a private security firm. He called his uncle from a payphone in the lobby, and they talked briefly. The uncle worked at the building, but they left without actually seeing him. They were never heard or seen from again. Neither of them had their licenses at the time they disappeared and relied on others for rides. They were both close to their families, and it was unusual for them to just leave without warning. Anwar has not used his credit card since he left. He also left his cell phone behind. He has a juvenile criminal record. He was sentenced to probation for car theft, but was sent to a juvenile detention center After he dropped out of high school, which was a violation of his probation, he did not reoffend, and Rahim had no record. Because of the amount of money they carried, it's theorized that they were robbed and murdered. The day after they were reported missing, a man's body was found in an abandoned house in Newark. He had been murdered, and the house was intentionally set on fire. The victim was identified as Rahim in 2010, but there was no sign of Anwar. And foul play is obviously suspected because Rahim was murdered, so it's obviously suspected for Anwar as well. Anwar's description is that he had brown hair and eyes. His nickname is Head. His left front tooth is chipped. He is 5'8", 140 pounds, and was last seen in a gray parka and blue jeans. Anyone with any information is urged to call the Newark PD at 973-733-5400. Again, that phone number is 973-733-5400. I will have Anwar's photo on the screen before we go into Rahim's story. So let's talk about Rahim. So basically, the same information with Rahim is known as with Anwar. So they basically have like the same final moments. But the only difference is that the Charlie Project reported one person in the house on Anwar's profile. But on Rahim's Charlie Project profile, it says that there were 2 individuals that were found deceased in that burned house. But only one was identified. So I'm not sure if 2 people were found, but only Rahim was able to be identified, or if there was only one person and they just like misreported it. But we do know that Rahim's body was found in that house. Whether or not there was another body, I can't confidently say because on one profile it says something different than the other person's. So we know that Rahim was eventually identified in 2010 as the murder victim. And Anwar was reported as missing and is still classified as missing because we've never found his body. So we still don't know who murdered Rahim, unfortunately. So we don't know any suspects or anything like that. No arrests have ever been made in the case of Rahim's murder, obviously. So that is basically all we know. Unfortunately, his case is also unsolved, but he is unsolved murder, and Anwar is unsolved missing. So the same phone number for Rahim as Anwar, that's the Newark PD, that's 973-733-5400. If you have any information, you are urged to call. So with cases like this where we don't have much information, we can't really theorize what happened. I can't say what I think happened to Ben because I honestly don't know. I have no idea. But I hope that some information is found, whether we know that he just left or someone hurt him. Hopefully we find some evidence of something and we can bring his family some peace. As for Anwar and Rahim, I think if there was 2 bodies in the house, I think it's likely that the second person was probably Anwar and maybe he was just too badly burned to be properly identified. If it's just one person, I honestly couldn't say what could have happened to Anwar. Maybe he was taken somewhere else and something happened to him. Maybe he wasn't even... something didn't really happen to him like it did with Rahim. I don't know how to explain how I'm trying to tell you my thoughts on this. But as for Rahim, we do know he was murdered. We just don't know by who. And I feel like if we can maybe solve the puzzle of Anwar's missing case, maybe we can solve who did this to Rahim. But that being said, I don't think Anwar is alive any longer just because there's been no activity with his credit card. He left his cell phone behind and everything like that. I don't think he is still with us. But I hope that some sort of evidence can be found and their families can be brought some peace. I've had Rahim's photo on the screen up till now. I'm sure I forgot to say that. But now I'm going to close out this video. Thank you guys so much for listening to their stories. I'm probably going to be doing another mini cases video very soon because I have so many that's just lined up. But thank you so much for listening to Rahim's, Anwar's, and Ben's stories. If you have any information, please call those numbers, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.